Right, so welcome to everybody. So have we, other than Tim, have we got any apologies for people not arriving?
Just from Louise Jenkins, but I know that Paul was going to provide her update today, so that was the only apology I received.
Okay, fantastic. So we're pretty much all here. Excellent. So the minutes of the previous meeting, I had a look and I didn't have any issues with them. Has anybody else found anything that they have concerns about with the minutes? No? Right, so if everybody's happy for the speed of whizzing through this meeting, I'm quite happy to say that if we're happy to say that there are no issues, I'm quite happy to say that we can sign them as is, unless anybody has any concerns. Fantastic. All right. Public question time. We don't seem to have anybody who's said that they want to come along and talk to us, which is of course very sad, and we feel really isolated amongst our community because nobody wants to see us. Anyway, the worldview bit, we are going to move to where the budget was going to be, and the budget bit we're going to do now, if that's okay with you, Alice.
Okay, as if by magic. So a very, very quick update to everybody. As you know, there's kind of two key parts in terms of income for our SACRE budget, our wider SACRE budgets, and that includes £15,000 allocation from the School Central Block for SACRE itself, and £15,000 from the School Central Block allocated for the ASC. So both of those are in the same cost code as you can see here, and so that equates to £30,000. We are at the end of Q1, so obviously got 3 more quarters to go. We are roughly about where we need to be in terms of our average year spend, slightly above for Q1, but that does take into consideration some fits and starts of activity throughout the year. You can see the actual expenditure on the right-hand side, and that includes payback for our advisors and those working on the ASC. That includes some travel, and Shell and Rebecca are going to be updating you on all of the things they've been doing out and about on our behalf. And obviously there's expenses to do with those. And then we also, up until recently, have had the cost of a contract for the interfaith and belief workers. That is coming to an end, just for everybody's awareness. So in our budget next year, that will not be in there. So that I think was £300,000 off the top of my head. That will be back in our SACRE budget for use in other ways. And as we've said, you know, predominantly in the meetings, if there are additional areas of expense that you feel would benefit SACRE or ASC, clearly in the past we've talked about ASC members having backfill to be able to be released from school, to be able to support the writing of the syllabus. That was agreed by yourselves. But if there are any other elements of expenditure that you feel would be beneficial, then please do let us know as the chair team. Any questions on that?
So can I ask, sorry, can I ask about the equipment? Is that the boxes that we fund with?
That's exactly right, yeah. Yeah, the fees and hired, it's a strange title, but that basically covers that contractual agreement. It also covers the SACRE membership, etc. So those lines will be within there.
Leonard, you've got your hand up.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. You may recall, Neil, that you mentioned about a contribution to the Somerset Anne Frank Youth Awards, and you then said wait till Alison, I think, if I remember correctly, was in place, so to speak. So I'm just wondering where that may have got to.
That's very well remembered, Leonard. Alison, we did discuss this, and you were absent at the time, so we said we'd wait until you came along. Leonard, I mean, this is something we've historically done. We've helped to support the Anne Frank Award in Somerset historically, and Leonard came along and said, could we continue to do that? We didn't know what the budget was, so we couldn't say yes or no. It seems the budget is healthy enough for us to be able to support Leonard's endeavours. Unless anybody, yeah, unless anybody's got any objections, I think we should continue to support that very useful thing that Leonard's been doing for years.
Yes, and in that context, Neil, we have an awards evening at Wells Cathedral on, if I remember correctly, 15th of July for the creative writing competition, nice. Which is it goes out, has gone out to all schools and colleges, etc.
So what we would need in order to kind of put that expenditure across is obviously to raise a purchase order. So we would need the details of the expenditure so that we can raise that purchase order prior to actually an invoice coming in. But I can liaise with whoever you need me to, Leonard. So if you can get the contact details, if it's yourself or somebody else, then let me know outside of this meeting.
Okay, I'll send you an email.
Lovely, thank you. And I think there was another hand up as well.
One popped up, it said Chancellor on it, but I couldn't find out who that was.
Oh, you're on mute.
That was me, because I was wondering about the Wells Cathedral, because I know we normally have it slightly earlier in the year, and so it had been something that had been spotted that it didn't happen in March as we would normally expect. So I'm glad to hear that it's happening in July, and I was just going to check the cathedral diary while we were on the call to make sure that it was indeed in there as expected, which was the 16th of July, did you say?
I hope I remember the date correctly. It's either the 15th or the 16th. I think it's a Wednesday.
It's the 15th. It's the Tuesday. It's the Tuesday the 15th. It's in the diary.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Because Jessica is our liaison.
Yeah,
she's on our committee as well.
Great. Can I just, with respect to Jessica, and I'm sorry this is digressing slightly, please could she be removed from the list, because she is no longer a member of SACRE, and she's getting increasingly embarrassed that she keeps on being expected to come along to meetings because her name keeps on not being removed. So it would be great if we could get that sorted.
Yes, that's not up to me. I only deal with the committee of Somerset and Frank. So she's on that one. I'm not talking about her. I have no say in the other matters.
I'm sure Rebecca, our clerk, has taken that as an action to do before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that all we need, Alison?
We've got a hand up from Councillor Francis.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, just a very tiny one. I'm really sorry. I know I've missed a couple of meetings, but who is Chancellor?
Would you like to
introduce the person who's just spoken and they're just down as Chancellor?
Hi, my name is Megan Daffin. I'm the Chancellor of Wells Cathedral. So I'm here as a Diocese of Bath and Wells representative. Is that okay?
No, thank you. It's just I wasn't quite sure who you were, and I thought I ought to understand where you belonged. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just that my email address is such that I come up as Chancellor, and then I can't seem to change it. Anyway. Thank you.
We'll remember for next time, I suspect. Thank you. Right, next thing on the list is the curriculum and assessment review. Paul Marvin is tasked with this lovely job.
Thank you.
Oh.
I am just trying to share my screen. I think I can do this all right. It does seem that permissions are fine. Sorry, I'm just getting the right screen up now. That's the wrong one as well. Where are we? Ah, there, of course, it's theme. Where's that gone? Apologies for this. I have got that screen there, so why it's not letting me share.
I think you have to just click on the screen you want to share, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. Oh, hang on, it might be.
I think somebody else may have been sharing before, Paul, so hopefully it will let you do it now.
Let me just come back out share. Oh, my windows are there. That's why. Apologies. Can everyone see that?
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. I need to be able to. It's going to let me click on. Oh, that might be why. Okay, so this is all about the curriculum and assessment review. I'm just going to give you a bit of background on what this is and why this is happening. So the curriculum and assessment review has been commissioned by the government, and it was commissioned in July 2024. It is an ongoing review of the national curriculum and the statutory assessment. The one thing that keeps on getting left out is religious education, as it's not part of the national curriculum, but that is also being reviewed as well within England. It's being led by Professor Becky Francis and a team of 12 experts, but there has also been input from teachers, advisors, parents and other stakeholders. We've been told that the final report is expected in autumn 2025, which most of us are guessing will be November. So why are we having this review? So the review is being made of the existing national curriculum, religious education and statutory assessment system in England to ensure that these elements are fit for purpose and that they're meeting the needs of children and young people. This includes balancing ambition, excellence, relevance, flexibility, and of course, inclusivity for all students. There was and still is concerns around the current system's impact on student learning, teacher workload, and the need to better prepare young people for the future. The review is in response to concerns that the current system put in place in 2014 narrows the curriculum, places excessive emphasis on high-stakes testing, and doesn't adequately prepare students for the future. So what was done in advance of this is that there was a call for evidence, and all the evidence that was gathered during this time leading up to the interim report, which I'll go on to in a minute. So the review panel's evidence gathering process included something known as the call for evidence, which was open from the 25th of September to the 22nd of November, of which there were over 7,000 responses received for this. There were also 2 online webinars, 9 events, getting the views of over another 3,600 attendees. And these are a mixture of experts, teachers, parents, pupils, school and college leaders. And they also held some roundtables and oral evidence sessions to get a more targeted input. This was, as I say, this call for evidence was closed in November, and then in March this year, an interim report was published outlining the panel's early findings and recommendations. So the highlights are, first of all, the current system is not working well for everyone. Although the present curriculum is a knowledge-rich offer and the present arrangements have had a positive impact on attainment, there are still persistent attainment gaps. These gaps are between those that are socially or economically disadvantaged and their peers, and also young people with SEND needs are failing to make sufficient progress in comparison to their non-SEND peers. In terms of the curriculum shape and content, breadth and balance are uneven across key stages. So key stage 1 and key stage 2 are relatively broad, but these are narrowed by English and maths. Key stage 3, which is often short to 2 years, so that GCSE requirements can be fitted in. So that reduces exposure to the foundation subjects. In key stage 4, the curriculum is narrowing due to accountability measures.
Sorry, Paul, I'm just going to button.
Yeah.
Paul, sorry. Everybody needs to turn their microphone off. We're getting feedback from you at the moment. So can we all make sure our mics are off, please?
Thank you. Within key stage 4, that's still feeding back, isn't it? Brilliant, thank you. In key stage 4, the curriculum is narrowing due to the accountability measures like the EBAC, which limits the creative and technical subjects. The curriculum is also not fully aligned with future societal and economic needs. There is a lack of digital literacy, climate education, and global citizenship. Stakeholders are calling for more interdisciplinary learning and real-world relevance. In terms of subject take-up and diversity, there are disparities in subject uptake. There is a decline in arts, design and technology and modern foreign languages. And although STEM subjects remain strong, gender and socio-economic gaps remain. The curriculum content lacks diversity. There is still limited representation of ethnic, culture and gender diversity in subject materials. Students and teachers advocate for more inclusive content across history, literature and PSHE. In terms of the 16 to 19 pathways and qualifications, the academic versus vocational divide remains stark, with A levels dominating academic routes. T levels and other vocational options still lack parity of esteem, And there are also concerns about level 2 and below qualifications being undervalued, despite their importance for many learners. There is also limited flexibility in combining academic and technical subjects. In terms of assessment and accountability, sorry, I am almost there, but this review was actually 45 pages long. For primary assessment in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2, there are high stakes testing that creates pressure and narrows teaching. Teachers report that SATS preparation dominates most of Year 6. For secondary and 16 to 19 assessment, there is heavy reliance on terminal exams, disadvantages some learners. It calls for more formative assessment, coursework, and teacher judgment. And accountability systems like Progress 8 and EBAC drive the curriculum, narrowing and teaching to the test. The schools in disadvantaged areas are disproportionately affected. And in the last area, in terms of emerging themes and next steps, there is strong support for a refreshed national curriculum that is knowledge rich, but also skills orientated, more inclusive, future facing and flexible, and better aligned with employer needs and civic responsibilities. The review will now explore alternative models of assessment, ways to support curriculum breadth and inclusion, and mechanisms to reduce high stakes accountability pressures. Now, obviously, you probably worked out by now if I mentioned RE at all. Tucked away on page 29 of the interim report is a section called Subjects Not on the National Curriculum. It is so small that when I asked Copilot to do me a summary of pages 17 to 42 of the interim report, there was no mention of this section. This is what it says: religious education and relationship, sex and health education, RSHC, are statutory subjects not included in the national curriculum. Although RE is compulsory until age 18, inconsistent national standards have led to uneven quality across schools. While RSHC has statutory guidance from the Department for Education, which is currently under review, RE lacks such guidance. The review aims to balance ensuring high quality content with allowing flexibility, especially for schools with religious affiliations, and these considerations will inform the final report. I think quite an encouraging. The review team is aware of the need for statutory guidance for RE, especially as there is such an inconsistency in quality and provision from school to school. Many schools are not providing RE for Key Stage 5, and some are not providing it for Key Stage 4 unless young people are taking the GCSE. Fortunately, there is an RE expert on the panel, Dr. Vanessa Ogden, who is leading up an RE deep dive focus for the curriculum and assessment review. At the moment for RE, there are no standards or lack of compliance, a misunderstanding of the place of RE, outdated statutory guidance, a reduced effectiveness of SACREs as they now don't have maintenance over academies. Academies are not accountable for the provision of RE, and there is an absence of RE in Key Stage 5. So the questions that are arising for RE particularly are, how can we most appropriately standardise the quality of RE provision across all school types within the current complex legislative framework? What is preventing certain school types failing to fulfil their legal duty to deliver RE at each key stage, and what can be done to support them to do so? What can be done to better secure the status of RE within the curriculum? Interesting, within the curriculum. To what extent is it possible to eventually reach a consensus on core content across all schools? And what is working well within the RE landscape that the review should avoid changing or actively building on? Unless we have high quality provision for every child, the integrity of society is ultimately at stake. Dr. Ogden is shocked by the inconsistencies across the country, particularly impact on consistency and accountability through academies. The aim is to get a settlement around this to make it better for 7 million children around the country. It is inconsistent, and we need to make the system much fairer for children. Considering all these issues, what must we do to improve the quality of RE for all children in the UK? There is still a concern about who sets the content, as this was the issue with the last review and curriculum back in 2014. So I think basically, as we have an expert on that team, we're hoping that things will improve massively for RE in that curriculum assessment review. Thank you. Stop sharing. Have I stopped sharing already?
Still. Sorry, thanks, Paul. Has anybody got any comments or questions for Paul after that lovely summary?
I was just about to say that was really concise. Thank you. That was really, really good.
Thank you.
Leonard.
Yes, surely the fundamental challenge that in a democracy, you cannot force, so to speak, religion down people's throats, especially in the sort of secular society we've become increasingly. So the challenge is, how do you make the provision of RE in a voluntary world?
Yeah, and I think what we're talking about here is the sort of presentation of religions, and not just religions but other worldviews as well, that children are sort of presented with that, but also that they are presented with the fact that that everybody has their own worldview, whether they are religious or not. So you're presenting them, you're saying this is what these people, or this is what the majority of these people believe, this is what some people believe, in a way that it is accessible to everybody. So you're not necessarily saying, this is what you must believe, this is what people do believe. And also, how does that relate to your own beliefs and your own understanding of the world? So yeah, I think that the difficulty might be in terms of church schools or Catholic schools, or so what needs to be adapted in terms of that. I think that the whole question is whether this will become part of the national curriculum and in what way that will come about. But we won't know. I'm saying November because when people say autumn, it won't be September, because that's why otherwise they'd say September. So we'll just watch this space and see what comes out, really.
Yes. So I suppose one answer could theoretically be, if not practically, that you have to show the relevance and the value of religious values of whatever denomination or persuasion. So you've got to do a bit more promotion and PR, so to speak, because you've got to persuade people to see the relevance of a spiritual and moral, ethical upbringing.
Absolutely, and the thing is, all schools have an spiritual, moral, social, and cultural policy. They all have to teach about spiritual, moral, social, cultural things, even whether they're church or not. So this is something that schools are meant to be doing. And as I say, it is compulsory that children up to the age of 18 should be having some sort of religious, education or philosophical. It's often philosophy and belief, and just that idea of what do people believe, what do people think about the world, because it's much bigger than understanding why Christians go to church or why Jewish people have a Shabbat. It's so much broader than that, and this is why I'm so pleased that we've got someone on that team, that panel, who's someone who says yes, there is real value in this, and we need to make sure that this is happening within academies, within schools, and that there's no place for people to opt out there. And how but yeah, it's got to be done well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mary, you have your hand up.
I do. Yes, thank you for summarising that. I mean, it's not cheery, is it? But that was really interesting. And I think, just thinking about what Leonard was saying about the perceived nature of shoving it down people's throats, which is definitely an attitude that you come across. But one of the problems with it then is trying to increase its status as an academic subject, rather than just we're learning about these wishy-washy things and what people think. The study of it academically is I think really important in that, in increasing its status in that way. I mean, I don't know the person who's on the panel and what her approach will be, but that's what I think it should be. I think it should be, emphasize that this should be standing alongside other academic subjects.
Absolutely, and as the RE sort of community is basically saying, unlike some subjects, this can be looked at and learned about in so many different ways. It can be learned, look at it through a theological discipline, you can look at it through a society discipline, human social sciences, or you can look through it as a philosophical. I mean, there's many more. And that's actually, it becomes one of those subjects where actually it can be looked at in so many different ways and learnt about in so many different ways that it's something that just essential, particularly for those students that are going to go, hey, I want to do philosophy at degree level, or I want to do theology at degree level, or I want to do human social sciences at degree level. And people being able to have that ability, or that opportunity to do that, if it's introduced so much earlier and taught well, then it can lead to so many other things. But you're right, absolutely an academic subject in that sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bernie.
Yeah, I think the other thing, just building on what Mary's just said, is that RE and probably slightly less so PSHE, but sometimes PSHE seem to be the two subjects that are viewed as being not neutral, whereas the rest of the curriculum, everything's neutral. There's no values involved. There's no particular assumptions or beliefs involved. And obviously it's completely untrue. There are embedded values and beliefs and assumptions in every aspect of the curriculum. And I think that's something that needs to be unpicked for people to recognize that there's as much value in studying RE and worldviews as there is in studying any other aspect of the curriculum. And there's as much opportunity to investigate and kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of, kind of, really look into and think about deeply the things in, across the entire curriculum. But yeah, there's this kind of, oh yeah, that stuff isn't neutral. That stuff is getting shoved down your throat. Nothing else in the curriculum is shoved down your throat. But there's all sorts of stuff ingrained in all of it.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think about the history curriculum. There's so much about the expectation of that this is acceptable, but this is the wrong sort of thing to do. So there's lots of values, as you say, within so many areas. And I think this is the problem, because so many teachers either go into certainly primary and thinking, because they're particularly, they have to do all those curriculum areas, and they'll go in with thinking either I don't have a religious belief, therefore I'm not qualified to teach RE, whereas actually it's nothing to do about your belief. I mean, obviously we all have a position, and it's good to understand your position, but if you don't have a belief, that doesn't disqualify you from teaching it. And then you get teachers that say, well, I do have a religious belief, so I can't teach all the other beliefs because I don't know anything about them and I'm biased. And so it is one of those ones that typically comes, as you say, with all this baggage, which we need to get rid of, because it's not true at all. I mean, most of the people I know that teach RE within the RE community probably don't have maybe a strict religious belief, but they do understand the importance behind, looking at everyone's belief and, philosophies. And yeah, so absolutely right, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, if we go back to the actual review itself, it's actually really sad. The conclusions that are pretty much identical to the conclusions of last time and the time before. I mean, these have been the same conclusions since the 1970s, and we haven't moved on. It's really sad. Anyway,
really hoping that this will be the time when it changes.
Yeah, do that. Should we do that on Porsche? Both of them. Thanks, Paul. Right, so the next thing is the ASC and the RE advisors update. That'd be Rebecca and Shell.
Thanks, and thanks, Paul. That was really useful. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to talk first of all about Learn, Teach, Lead RE and what's been going on with that recently. Alison, are you in control of the slides? Can you click on for me? I feel like I've got a little assistant. Oh, look. So we had an in-person meeting, hybrid meeting actually, a couple of weeks ago. So there were about 8 people in person and I think about 13 online. Abby Needs, who's the primary hub leader for Somerset, presented. She's been doing a Farmington scholarship this year, so she presented on her project, which the title was "Why Do Religious People Act Against the Moral Code of Their Religion?" which was really interesting. She presented some really academic research. She'd done lots of reading, but then she also talks about how that could be used in the classroom and linked really beautifully to using a multidisciplinary approach as well. So there were lots of connections between the work she'd been doing in her Farmington and the work we've been doing on the ASC this year. So that was brilliant. And it was good to get lots of people together for that as well. And then I just gave a brief update for teachers on the ASC, because they're all really keen to know what's happening and want far more information than we can give them at the moment. But it was really good to see how many of them are so interested and listen out for things next year. Then last week, the week before, the weeks are all merging into one. There was a Learn, Teach, Lead RE Area 2 conference, which covers the area of Somerset, Bristol, North Somerset, Bath and North East Somerset, Swindon, South Gloucester, quite a big area. And there was a conference in South Gloucestershire, so near Bristol. And there were 2 keynote speakers there, both of which were brilliant. So Trevor Cooling, he talked about powerful knowledge, and again, really academic, but also you could really see how that would relate to the classroom. So that was really useful. And then in the afternoon, Anjali, I spelled her name wrong, talks about diverse Christianity and how that looks, and different resources that could be used in the classroom to really enhance the teaching of Christianity. So they were great. And then there were various workshops throughout the day, some on using lived experiences and visitors in the classroom, some on assessment. There were some Key Stage 4 RS workshops, humanist workshop, various workshops. So really good, and lots of brilliant opportunities to network for the teachers. And it was good for me to be able to go and talk to lots of different people as well. So any questions about, oh yeah, and then we've been starting to think about next year, what that looks like, what the hub meetings look like, and what conferences might look like as well. So that's just in initial stages at the moment. Any questions about that? Great.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's fantastic work, the hub stuff, and we're going to be leaning on it quite a bit over the next couple of years with the agreed syllabus when it comes in. We're just, both of us are just going to do a bit of an out and about. So if you just want to bring all my bits up, I'll explain that we've been heavily doing syllabus writing. I've had many nights going to bed at 1:30 a.m. I've been meeting with primary school teachers quite a lot, which is something new for me as well. But that's been really good. It's really opened my eyes about what's going on in schools, and some really good RE. I've helped 5 schools with their curriculum planning, which they eventually are doing, a religion and worldviews approach, which is really good. They're introducing the disciplines, and they're also basing it on some NATRE resources that there are challenging RE. So yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. Presented at I presented at 3 conferences, but one which was to Bet My Trust, but also the whole of Swift's deputy heads. So there was probably about 60, 70 of them. I'm not quite sure, but these deputy heads, I was presenting about the national content standard, about how it is similar to a national curriculum, or it intends to be, but would hopefully bring about a much better, more challenging and academic and rigorous RE in the classroom. To my utter surprise, they were, because I thought I was on second after lunch, I thought I'm going to be lucky if they're not all nodding asleep in front of me, and are really uninterested after a long day. But they were so excited, and it really hit me in that moment that the struggles that I do myself and Rebecca have when we go into some schools that are resistant to the change to improve RE. I had always thought it had something to do with leadership of schools, but presenting to those deputy heads made me realise perhaps it wasn't the leadership, because they were so excited about the changes. They were all saying, how can their RE leads be supported? And a lot of them were worried that the quality of RE wouldn't change because of some of those RE leads. So that, especially at secondary. So that was really, really interesting to me. I totally shifted my, my mindset. And I've spent some time talking to some other national leaders to find out ways we can, further combat that resistance sometimes we get with definitely secondary leads to improve the quality of their RE education. So that was really interesting. And then went to the Bath and Wells Diocese, thanks to Paul for that one. That was a brilliant conference, really, really good. And a lovely day, an absolutely lovely day. That's me. I'm just presenting again another conference next week, but that's me. Your turn, Rebecca.
Thanks, Shell. Some of our things are, of course, going to be the same. So we've been busy syllabus writing, as you know. And I also went to the Bath and Wells Diocese RE conference, which again was brilliant. Loads of very enthusiastic primary teachers in particular, and some secondary as well. I also went to the SACRE annual conference and AGM in London, which was a really interesting day. And there, again, the keynote was brilliant and was all about kind of community cohesion and finding things that can connect people rather than finding differences. So finding that commonality. So that was brilliant, and it was good to hear about all of the things that SACRE have got planned coming up for next year, and some really good training, which will be good to share when that comes out with SACRE members as well. And I also went to an infant RE conference in London, which was very interesting, and brought 6 different schools of year 2 pupils together to do RE for the day, which was brilliant. So yeah, I think that's me.
Thank you.
And I went to the ARIAC and Norway conference last week as well, so I forgot about that one. It's a very busy conference time of year this term.
It is. I think I reflect both myself and Rebecca in kind of different positions, because I'm in school, Rebecca's not, and she gets to be able to go to all these fantastic conferences that my school won't release me to anymore. So it's brilliant because we are getting that academic input to myself through Rebecca, and we're still, we're still both spending time in school, so it's really good. I'm very jealous. You can move on now.
Unless anyone's got any questions about any of that. Great.
Nope. No. Okay. If you could just do the next bit, Alison, for me, just to show the table. All of it, to be fair, just bring it all up. I'm going to have to be reminded, was it a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, we started the agreed syllabus conference. And we had a short-term and medium-term plan and a long-term plan. Now, as you can see, we are there. We've done the final draft. You were sent it with the agenda this time last. I think it was Friday. You were sent it. There's been a crossover, I'm afraid, and when you were sent it, the draft you were sent is now totally different because Amelia looked at the draft and she had 2 concerns that needed to be addressed. I'll explain those concerns in a second, but just to say that has meant that we've got to redo quite a lot of the draft, so it'll be very different. I can't show you all the draft yet. I've been working hard on it since that meeting, but I can show you snapshots of it. And the reason I can't show you the new final draft, if you like, is because it can't be final until the ASC, that's the members of the Agreed Syllabus Conference, have a look at it first and decide on whether they would like it to be shown to SACRE as a final draft. And that will happen for the autumn. Hopefully we'll get a meeting early in the autumn term. I can't remember if the dates have already been seen for SACRE to have a look. So I'll just talk a bit about the 2 concerns that Amelia had, and both myself and Rebecca really agreed with them. And again, I haven't spoken to the Agreed Syllabus Conference, so those members that are on now will kind of get this before. It's gone the wrong way, I'm afraid. We didn't have a meeting before this because we couldn't, but because it was only a week ago. But essentially, the first major concern she has was that our syllabus had too many concepts in it. We had taken our concepts from the National Content Standard document, but it was quite unreadable for some teachers, or most teachers found it unmanageable. They didn't quite understand it. So they wanted that broken down into other concepts. Amelia believed that was too much, and that wasn't in line with educational practice across other curriculum subjects. And in truth, she's right. She's absolutely right. It's not in line. So unfortunately, we've had to change that. Well, not unfortunately, I'll rewrite that, because actually I believe it's fortunate that we've had to change it, because it's brought a lot of clarity. And a couple of people that have seen our work on the change of concepts have said that it does bring clarity to those national content standard concepts, which in fact they call statements. So it is kind of confusing for people. Hopefully this will become clear when you actually see the thing I'm going to show you in a minute. The second big concern she had was the length of the document. It was over 100 pages. And she was absolutely right, of course. Most of it was supporting documents, was not the syllabus. So we've broken that down and separated it. And now the syllabus itself is just 39 pages, I think, long. And so that is much more manageable. And again, in truth, us on the conference really didn't want a long, big document, because that scares teachers. They kind of, feel it's too much. So those two concerns were right, a bit late in the day, but they were right. We had another meeting with another curriculum writer who works for the county across subjects. And we talked through our ideas and he liked them. So we are hopefully have corrected those concerns and things can move forward. The last thing that she said is that she did not believe this could be signed off this year. So our idea was that today we'd sign off the draft and that then we could be presenting it to teachers as the new syllabus in September. I'll be clear here, Amelia is the person who's going to be presenting our syllabus to council. So if she doesn't agree with it or believe in it, it isn't going to get through council. She believes, and I agree, and so does Rebecca, that it would be good practice to put it through a time of consultation. So it kind of is still going ahead. It's still launching in autumn, but it'll be a consultation launch. And what we'll do is we'll be presenting this syllabus to schools and teachers and leaders and saying, please try this out and give us feedback. How does this work and how doesn't it work? And then we can adapt changes and hopefully be ratifying this in the spring term. So making those changes, putting it in front of yourselves, you agreeing with those changes, and then if Amelia agrees with those changes, then we can put it through to the council and it can be September 26th. I know it's not what our conference wants to hear, because we were excited about it coming out in September, but it still is. What I'm saying, there's still going to be something there for teachers to use. It's still going to be it. They're just going to be able to consult on it, which I think is a good idea. They'll have the chance to adapt it to, and tell us their feedback, if it's workable or not. So in lots of ways, it's still doing the same thing. Right, I'm going to just show you parts of that document that have not been agreed yet by the Agreed Syllabus Council, so could still be changed. And I'm going to try, if you could stop share, Alison, I'm going to try and explain the National Content Standard concepts to you, and how we've broken them down to be manageable for teachers. And then I'll give you an example of Key Stage 3. What I'm kind of missing out is I'm not going to show you all of the statutory stuff and the other jargon that goes with it, because we've got to, present that to ASC. Okay, I'll share this now. Now, this is split into 6 concepts, 3 per page, just because I can't fit all 6 in one page. I'm hoping you can see this. Now, the REC core statements that you see there in the blue line going across, nature, formation, expression A, individual, organised B, context C, weren't clear for teachers. and not even clear for other curriculum writers that I've spoken to. I understand them, but then I have worked with them extensively now, so I understand them. But everyone that looked at them, Amelia included, went, "What does that mean?" And the way we had broken down the concepts is very similar to what you see here, but Amelia did not agree that it was clear enough and that there were too many of them. So what I've done is I've broken them down into 6 concepts. Myself and Rebecca have decided on these 6, which we will present to ASC. So nature, formation, expression, it's just changing the wording, really made this clearer to people. Origins and expression, personal and collective, place and time. Then the next 3, if I can get it to move, are meaning and purpose, ethics and values, and influence and power. Now, you may say, this is just adding another layer to teachers, another layer of understanding. But as in every single subject, we have the substantive, the conceptual, and the disciplinary. We add on the positionality. So if you're talking about the substantive, we're going to give them that. And as I say, we've got more of that in the document. But if we're talking about substantive, it has to be mapped conceptually. And those concepts need to grow over time, as does the substantive content. And they have to be taught through a multidisciplinary approach explicitly, so that children are understanding the disciplines that they're using and they can apply those disciplines to other knowledge, because we can't teach them everything. So if they've got the skills, they can apply those skills to any type of religion and worldviews that they come across in their life. So those are the 6 concepts that we've broken the REC content standard statements down into. And I'm hoping that teachers across the board and the ASC will give me feedback next week. So you may want to give me feedback about this now, but I prefer if it was done by email, because I really have to talk to the ASC first, because, you know, I'm just showing you this to explain why we are not releasing this year. If I then go to, and I'll just get it up, a syllabus. So in other words, that is just explaining sorry, it's decided to disappear on me. Oh my word, sorry. What those concepts mean. Don't know why it doesn't want to show. Let's try it. Here we go. I will show you, say, at Key Stage 3, what the actual syllabus could look like. This is not an exemplar. This is just the kind of questions a teacher could ask. We have exemplars that I can show you one of them, say, for Key Stage 3. But when teachers see these concepts, they're going, well, what kind of questions does that mean? What does that look like in the classroom? So these questions to help. And if you'd like to just take a little read through of some of them to help break down those concepts a bit into questions. So what are you really focusing on when you're doing that? I'll give you a second to read through those, and then I'll move the slide over.
Let's see.
So I'm just going to butt in, Shall Eleanor, is what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I just have a quick question before we move on and go on something. On all those the previous slides that you were showing, are we expecting teachers to teach obviously something from each of those 6 concepts, but they don't have to, because then under that it was like, I don't know, 15 other little purple ones there. And are we expecting them to teach all of that and have all of that, or is it as long as you have something from each of those 6 concepts within your 3-year, 5-year, 6-year curriculum, it's okay?
Sorry, dog. No. No. So they're very intermixed as well. When you look at them, they're quite intermixed. So say for when I'm doing something about the nature of God in medieval times, so perhaps key ideas about that is place and time, influence and power, and origins and expression in one, really. I've just put the main, on the exemplars, I've just put the main kind of concepts that you're talking about through it. But it's not, they are all things that we do already. I think probably the influence and power is the one that some of us don't. So, and also the personal and collective. So maybe we don't show that distinction between how individuals within a faith and their organization are different. So specifically how you can have two people in a pew thinking different things about life issues. And maybe we don't talk about how any religion influences society or is shaped by society. There's some things maybe we don't do and maybe we should do to include that challenge. So it helps us look at
if we're going to rewrite our Key Stage 3 curriculum, for example, we are looking to create units of work. So year 7, 3 units of work per year. We're looking to include somewhere across year 7, 8 and 9, at some place we've got to fit all these bits.
Yeah, I mean, you would anyway. Obviously, as I'm saying, the only two that you wouldn't, it would be perhaps you haven't been explicit about how people are different within their faith. Not so much as in their different beliefs, as in why an individual. So, for example, why an individual can say that they are Christian, but they don't go to church. You may not have talked about that diversity of belief in a religion and worldviews approach. You may not have talked about in depth that influence of power, but everything else we're already doing, really. And what this should aim to do, and again, we're talking about a child's career in education from EYFS to Key Stage 5. Those concepts should be mapped out throughout. But yes, maybe in some years, 1 or 2 are missing. But as long as they're continuously growing, and this, of course, is very easy if you're primary and secondary trust, you can ensure that maps out. But if you're not part of a multi-academy trust, and you're receiving lots of children from different primary schools, you don't know how that's mapped out. And that's what a lot of people try to do secondary is, oh my God, I've got to get all of this into Key Stage 3 because they know nothing, which they don't have to do, but they often feel they do. Yeah. So we don't have to put everything in that Key Stage 3. But we should try and include those elements of challenge in there that some of these do, bring out in us. If I show you very quickly, I'll click on is this exemplar 1? I'll go back. Now, I'm very sorry that you've got to see this like this. Again, this is still being worked on. But if you looked at, I'll go back to exemplar 1, Key Stage 3, have a look at how those concepts are mapped out. The first 2 are locality units. So that's something we've included in our syllabus, is that they must teach a locality unit at some point. It doesn't mean that they've got to do one every year at all. It doesn't mean that it has to be explicit. So, for example, if you're looking at the Nicene Creed, you're teaching about the Nicene Creed, maybe you could talk to your local church about the Nicene Creed, and local Christians who could talk to you about that would be doing locality as well. There's different ways you can do locality. But our syllabus writers are writing locality units because this scares teachers because they have not had this before. So they don't know how to do that. I've just been working with a primary school who've written locality units for their primary curriculum for September already. And they're great. They're absolutely fantastic. They found local saints in their village, or a well that, they found loads of really different and interesting things about their immediate locality, which has been really inspiring, really. And I'll ask them if they want to share those. I'm sure they will. With the wider Somerset teachers. But this is the kind of idea of what maybe it could look like. Now, those different colours that you see are the disciplines. If you've not encountered the disciplines before, they are roughly in 3, theology, philosophy and social sciences, although now people would like to see history as a separate one as well. At the moment, it's included in social sciences. So this is mapping both the concepts and the disciplines to ensure that, an answer, if you like, to that Ofsted the Ofsted reviews that keep telling us that we are not explicitly disciplinary enough, and that we don't have enough depth and challenge. It's an attempt to do that with the concepts and the multidisciplinary approach. So that's really me. I'll stop sharing if that's okay. And that is the update for the ASC. I'm, good news and bad news. The good news is that we get to improve it. The bad news is that we have to wait a while until we can ratify it. I hope that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. The only thing I was going to say, I mean, I obviously read it through because that's kind of what I do. And there are somebody needs to edit it a little bit because there's a few spelling mistakes along the way. But I'm going to leave that with you to.
It has been viewed by many people, and some people don't see anything, and other people do see mistakes. So that'd be great if you could tell us. That would be really good.
I'll ping you an email in a minute. There's only two that I found.
Yeah, because Paul was great. He gave me a long list, and that was fantastic.
Right.
To be able to go through it. Lastly,
so I was just going to say that the other thing is because I'm also kind of like the Buddhist rep as well. I mean, we've got to make a decision about, in terms of spelling Buddhist things, which of the two, Pali or Sanskrit, we're going to use. That's something that we need to have a discussion about, because I would tend to go with the Sanskrit rather than the Pali versions.
Okay, is that in the document?
I don't know, because so I'm just saying it will need to be. It will need to be, because otherwise teachers are going to get confused about when they're teaching. In some books it's got these spellings, and other books it's got that spelling for the same thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. Can we have a further conversation about that?
We can indeed. That's why I just thought
another meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant.
Chancellor, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Sorry, just a couple of very stupid questions. So you've just been talking about typos and things, but I thought that Shell was now talking about a different document that isn't the one that's shared.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you for picking that up, Megan. I would not be correcting the other one anymore. I will be correcting the new one that comes round next term. Sorry, you're right. Absolutely true. Thank you.
And can I also just quickly, another stupid question. I think I probably missed it. Could you just say a little bit more about Amelia and who she is and why she's in a place of judging this?
The perfect person to tell you that is Alison. Alison, would you mind?
Of course, yeah. No, great question, Megan. She's my line manager. She's the service director for education. So she has oversight of all of the teams, education-wise, and for Somerset schools. Yeah, obviously it's important. And she also has significant experience and expertise within curriculum writing herself. So yes, she's the service director for education.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell me what her subject is then?
So her specialist subject, her own, is around theology. So she looks at kind of writing. I think she's doing a research project at the moment, and I think I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think it's very kind of historic religious writing she's looking at the moment. So she has a vested interest in religion and has been involved with SACRE previously. So yeah.
Thank you.
Francis.
Thank you. How aware are schools? Now, the reason for the question is that I'm aware that and lots of schools have absolutely agreed with the local authority and everybody else that the curriculum had to be overhauled, but it has felt as though it's gone on for years and years and years. And I'm aware that quite a number have, rather than taking any of the interim solutions coming out from the local authority or SACRE, have bought in curriculums or curricula that they are using, and are finding them, finding that they've got good things and bad things about them as well. But are in fact not using an agreed a locally agreed syllabus, and whatever the legalities of that, I can see there being there is a question of trust and confidence, particularly given the length of time it's taken to get here and the fact that we're not here yet, that they will with enthusiasm move from the curriculum that they have bought to the agreed what we hope will be a really good locally agreed curriculum. It's the relationship with schools that's worrying me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's why myself and Rebecca said that we had to release in September. So we're releasing it as a consultation, and that's a really good idea. And she has the right, I totally agree with the media. It should be a consultation, but it's still going out there in September. Well, not September. It'll be, well, maybe September, October time. We'll be having a conference with teachers because they need something, and we have lost a lot of teachers to not very good resources. So that is a problem, and we know that, and that's why we are desperate to get them something. I will put a caveat on that. It should take 5 years to plan an ASC, and we've done it in 2. So I would have liked an awful lot more time to base it on academic research myself. I've had to lean on others to do that better. It's still not what I'd like, but we haven't had the time to do that. So what we're getting is all our, we've done the best we can to make sure that it is something teachers will want to use, because at the end of the day, the last one they didn't want to use, and then you lose them. If we can get them to use it, we can release it, not release it, consult it, then hopefully we'll change the tide going on to things like Jigsaw, which we don't want.
And if I may come back, it is absolutely not a criticism of the work that you have all been doing over the last couple of years. It's absolutely essential. The sad thing from the point of view of losing schools to Jigsaw, which is the one that I keep hearing about, is that it wasn't earlier, and that is not the fault of anybody in this room. If it's anybody's fault at all, it may be just circumstance. So absolutely, thank you very much. But I do think we have an uphill struggle of confidence and trust that all your work is going to be hard. And
yeah, I mean, we've made hundreds of gains, myself and Rebecca, in the last year. Hundreds of gains with teachers and leaders. We are doing that work out there, as well as making a good syllabus. But that just is going to be ongoing. And the big time for us this year, for both of us, is that we are going to be in schools training teachers on this. Part of the consultation progress will be choosing 5 primaries and 5 secondaries to have a more bespoke training, so that we can really look at how it works or doesn't for them. And that will give us not only the answers we need, but again, build that trust. And other schools obviously will have our support. It's just that that will be more intense with those 10 schools. But yeah, we will do this. We will make it happen in the next year.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Can I just add? Sorry, Cheryl. I was just going to say, I am getting emails from primary school teachers almost every day asking for information about things. So I think there are definitely some schools, lots of schools that have bought into schemes, but there are also a lot of schools who are really wanting to get involved. So I think it will take a while, but I feel confident that we've done a lot of networking and we've made a lot of progress, and that we are on the up.
Yes, I feel that too. The last thing from me really is to say our curriculum writers are working hard at it and making those locality units. Here they are, those curriculum writers. We've also got one extra that's not on there, and that's Nathan Weston. But by autumn, we should have a good set of locality units. We were going to train on assessment on the 9th of July. But we've moved that training. We've got to postpone it because we're going to be meeting as an emergency meeting to have a look at the document that you've seen parts of today. and then it will be a soft release. And that's really it for me. I think Megan's got a question.
Thank you. Sorry. Yes. When will we be able to see? I remember. I think I heard you asking for sort of feedback. But when will we be able to see the actual document for feedback?
Rebecca and Alison, please chip in if I'm wrong. But I'm thinking that once the ASC has said okay, we can then send it out to you. And we're meeting on the 9th, pending changes. It would be later that week or the week after. I'd love to do it before the end of term, so we'll see if that works. Rebecca, Alison, am I wrong in that?
No, I would agree. Yeah.
Megan?
Sorry, and my other sort of thought from the slides that you shared, I mean, obviously we naturally think of religious education being about goodness and how to live a good life. But in my kind of reflections recently around what we're passing on to people in terms of values of society, I am thinking, for instance, of that line in the Christmas Carol about Christian children all must be mild, obedient, good as he. That kind of notion of goodness can actually be quite a controlling, quite a dangerous one, where there is a sort of, dare I say it, I don't want to be classed as woke, but sort of patriarchal narrative, which does actually can damage.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that is the beauty of RE, and especially in I'm not going to say especially in a non-faith school. That's the wrong thing to say completely. But I have the liberty of critically viewing the nature of good and evil and the effect of patriarchal or other type of controlling ideas around good. So especially when it comes to women. So that's the point of religion worldviews approach, is that you can be critical of certain ideas as well as acknowledging the beauty of certain ideas. If you say to a child this is right, they're going to tell you it's wrong. You have to give them the skills to do that themselves, to figure out what they think is right and wrong and the nature of right and wrong. Get into meta ethics and we lose the power to live. But yes.
So the teachers who will be delivering this kind of material will be well equipped to be critical of what is goodness.
Well, that's the multidisciplinary nature of it. So there's a lot of resources out there for teachers through SACRE on how to tackle those big questions and those big ideas in a disciplinary way. Looking at the nature of God through psychology is very different looking at the nature of God in Islam through theology. So, those are the tools that they get. And the SACRE resources, to be fair, are the best out there. And at least we can signpost them to it. We've also made extra exemplars than you've seen. So we've got 4 exemplars in total. We've just shown you one. And one of those includes using SACRE resources, and the other includes using Understanding Christianity resources, which is also gives those tools of critical, analysis, etc. So yes, those teachers will be.
Thank you. I know I have another question, but Leonard has also raised his hand.
Oh, okay. Leonard?
Yes. I'm experiencing a degree of concern here, maybe because I've been 7 years theological college from the Jewish perspective, that when anybody attempts to understand the nature of God, we ought to bear in mind that we are finite and God is infinite. So as the old Talmudic question would put it, how can something finite consider and understand infinite? So that's my context. So when you start talking about the nature of God, I just hope there's a degree of modesty there.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely true. How can the finite understand the infinite? And that is a concept that students have to try to understand, because I'm going to say in their great majority, in my school at least, don't believe there is a God. So and think perhaps not kind things about people that do believe in a God. So it's explaining the nature of God, or not explaining the nature of God, investigating that idea of what different people believe or may not believe is really important to understand for them.
Yes, I'd be more comfortable with attempting to understand the manifestation of God without necessarily understanding its core content.
Okay.
That's
something for us to think about.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely. Yes, Chancellor, I think.
Thank you. Just picking up on what Leonard was just saying, I know that you, Shellen, and I just now were having a conversation around the limits of religious language and the importance of mystery. So I just want to make sure that Leonard is also aware that that those kinds of concepts and words are sort of hanging around. But the other sort of potentially minor detail that I was thinking about in the time and place column on one of those slides that you showed, it made reference to the destruction of the temple in the 1st century. But I was also mindful of the previous destruction of the temple and how that had shaped the scriptures of the Hebrew Bible.
586 BC, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was sort of also thinking that actually that too massively shaped, as far as I'm aware, some of our sort of inheritance of faith today.
Yeah, I mean, that is fascinating. That's fascinating because we've got, you know, there's so much I could put in that column. There's so many things that I didn't put in that column, but that's almost a better one because you're starting with that shape before you look at the other. I mean, see, it's chronology. If you wanted to do you know, your curriculum chronologically, but I mean, I hope that exemplifies to you how difficult it is for a teacher to try and choose the content to teach children on 1 hour a week in any great depth. What on earth do you choose? And that's in lots of ways why we don't have a national curriculum, because they feel like, but that argument doesn't hold with me because look at history. I mean, you've got so much to choose from as well, and they manage it, so we can possibly do it. But yeah, I mean, that's a fabulous question. I like that question. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Shell and Rebecca, if you've got nothing else to tell us, or you're done with that now?
I don't think so, Rebecca. No. Oh, Rona's got her hand up.
Oh.
Before we leave this business of the curriculum, on page 35 of the curriculum, it says, other worldviews you may choose to teach are humanism, Baha'i, paganism. And I wondered if we should also include animism.
Yes.
Because it's still very much a world religion.
Yeah, I think I can include that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think, Rebecca, if you're in agreement, have we got Rebecca still? Oh, you're there.
Yeah, sorry. I am. It's my internet seems to be a bit delayed. Yes, that sounds good.
Yeah. Any other questions for me? Let's check.
Nope. All right, so moving on then. Next thing on the list is the diocesan report, which is Paul again.
Hi, thank you. I basically was going to go through this, but we have obviously been, this document was passed on to you, the one that Louise put together for this meeting. We have recently had a few more signs inspections. So as you can see from the document, all the inspections this year so far have been very positive, all with J1 outcomes. We had Bolton's Borough and Ashlands also had their signs inspections yesterday, and they went very well. I can't disclose the outcome until the report is released, but they both did particularly well. And I also believe we're just waiting, I think, on Upton Nobles, which we think will be in the next couple of weeks, But so far, apart from these two which are outstanding, they've all been very positive J1 outcomes. On the report, we've sort of listed the strengths, particularly around RE and collective worship. So there's a sort of a list of some of the strengths that the inspectors have picked up on within some of these schools. So again, they're there for you to look through. But also we have a list of development points as well, mainly around, in terms of RE, mainly around things like assessment. Assessment comes up quite a lot, and looking at exploring sort of questions, looking into the depth of RE. But again, as you can see, it's basically RE that where the development points are. There doesn't seem to be any development points in terms of collective worship. Then obviously we also had our RE conference, which I know that Rebecca has already mentioned on the May 2nd, which was to support teachers to use this worldviews approach, or religion and worldviews approach, in their planning with the existing syllabus that they have, whether it was Somerset or whether it was another syllabus, because obviously we have schools from other areas within our diocese. We had Gillian Georgiou, who spoke at that, who worked alongside a teacher from the Thornbear Primary School, Kathy Collings, who developed a model exemplary unit of work, which was explained and discussed with teachers. And then teachers had time in the afternoon, and of course we had Gillian, myself and Louise, and obviously Rebecca and Shell there, who were supporting teachers who'd come in terms of their curriculum planning using this religion and worldviews approach. Had lots of positive feedback from the event. We hope this has helped prepare teachers to use this religion and worldviews approach with a view to the new syllabus being released soon, even if it's under an advisory capacity. I don't know if there's any questions from that, or if any comments, but that's basically a summing up, yes, of the diocese.
Thanks, Paul. I'm just going to warn everybody, my dog's just decided to go having a barky fit, so if she starts barking, apologies. So where did we get to? We've done the budget already. So membership update is the next thing on the list. It says to consider the addition of a pagan representative to the SACRE. I don't know who proposed that, who wanted to talk that through. Was there anybody particular who was going to talk this through?
I don't mind taking that one. Yes, I think it was because we had a gap on our membership, and we have been approached by somebody who would be interested to do that role. So it obviously it was felt that would be a good idea, that the gap was filled, and as we've got somebody who's interested and would add to the dynamic of the conversation, I think that was what we were putting forward as our proposal.
Okay, so the obviously next question is, do we have any information about the person who wants to come forward?
You're on mute, Shell, if you're trying to talk.
So I just wanted to say, so was that the paganism rep? Sorry, because I just had just to add on that, we have not sought them out, but when the contact was made, we have asked them. They're a really good person for this role, and we did send out her kind of CV to yourselves to show you her credentials. But the fact is, some of our parts of our locality units have been helped by her knowledge. So we kind of felt this was important to have that representation, seeing as we've got that locality element now. I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you.
So it's for members to ratify that we would like to go ahead, but I think Councillor Francis got a hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question. Absolutely recognise the value that can be brought, and that's great, and has been brought already, which is really helpful. Membership, I think membership has to broadly represent the main strands of belief in the area. were we saying that we have already decided that this is one of the strands of belief that ought to be represented? We did have a representative who is now gone, which is why we have a vacancy, and this is the person that is being put forward to fill that vacancy. Or are we in the middle of trying to decide that it is a relevant relevant belief system within Somerset that should be represented on SACRE, and if so, then we should appoint this person. Which are we doing?
Good question.
Isn't it number one? Because the Constitution has a place, like one of the strands has already been decided that there, and therefore there is a gap. I think that is new to this new Constitution. We didn't used to have a space for paganism. There is now. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the new Constitution included a space for paganism. However, we didn't have a rep. No one had come forward or anything, and therefore it's been blank for however many months since the new Constitution has been in place. I might be wrong though, but that's my understanding.
That's really helpful.
I remember from the Constitution that there were like blocks of people, so it was an either or a lot of the time. So
I've just got the Constitution up off the website, and it does, and the membership, and it does say, if so long as what's on the county website is up to date, there is pagan on it and vacant on it. So I should have looked at that first. So I understand the question now. It's are we appointing this person? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, do we have to take a vote, or what?
I think we do need to take a vote, just to fulfill all the criteria that we as a group have decided that we're happy with this person, in the same ways that we did for Bernie a few months ago. So we're going to need a proposal. Well, for sure, I think we are. Yeah, because we've got pretty much everybody here, haven't we?
And it's one vote per house, isn't it?
Theoretically, yes, but I mean, I'm quite happy for us to do it as a show of hands. To be honest, we've had this conversation before, haven't we? If it's a contentious issue, then going into the groups would be a good idea. But just as a group, are we happy to say a pagan person as a member would be a good idea? So, okay, do we have a proposer and a seconder for this official? No.
I've got my hand up. I'm actually not sure if I can vote as the RE advisor. Just for a second there.
Well, can we not do it by consensus anyway?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So let's just all, everybody who's happy, we just put our hands up like this so that everybody can see. Where's my camera? In front of the camera. There we go. That way. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Anybody against? Okay. Okay, and then any abstentions to that vote. Fabulous. So I think that's carried. Who can get in touch with this person? Shell, can you get in touch with her, or Alison?
Or Alison, probably better Alison, because then she can give her the relevant stuff.
If I go as well with Rebecca's advice on the wording of any kind of communication, we can get that done formally.
Okay. Fantastic. Shell, it says you've got your hand up still. Is that historical?
Apologies, I'm lowering it now.
Fantastic. All right. Right. So then any other business? Has anybody got anything they want to discuss a bit more in this meeting? Nope.
I'm sorry. I just noticed a comment from Chancellor in the comments.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry.
If 2 people abstained, what does that mean? Sorry, I'm not used to this kind of thing. If they're
it means they haven't voted, essentially.
So do we need? So we're just having a general consensus.
Yeah, so
I'm just
general
thinking,
consensus.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Right, so back to any other business. Has anybody's got anything they want to discuss in this meeting?
Chair, I think we may have skipped the section that you were going to do regarding worldview. but given that I'm not sure that Tim actually ever joined us, but I was just double checking he hadn't joined late.
He's not on my list, so that's why. You're right. I did.
That's fine.
Okay.
Can we put that forward to the next meeting?
Of course.
That's fine, Shall I can add it onto the next agenda. Thank you.
Brilliant. I think the dates of the next meeting have already been shared, haven't they? I seem to remember having a message pop up in my inbox for the next meeting, but could we officially tell everybody where it is? Because Alison,
it's 10th of September, Chair.
Thank you. 10th of September is the next meeting. Generally we do them in Broughton House, don't we, down in Taunton?
Yeah, and in the Constitution, we always do hybrid. Obviously, on this occasion, we had to come online for various reasons. Councillor Francis?
Yeah, there is a problem for councillors, which is when whoever sets meeting dates sets them against each other. I couldn't come last time because two bodies that I'm appointed to by the council met at the same time. That's why I came this time. I'm actually in Canada on holiday, but I came this time because I couldn't because of that kind of clash. Next time it's been set against the corporate parenting board, or the corporate parenting board has been set against this. This sort of thing needs to be resolved because it will affect not only me.
Okay.
So I believe that the dates were delayed to come out because it needed to be in line with other corporate responsibilities.
Absolutely,
yeah.
but we've got there is a problem with which I fear Democratic Services has to square the circle somehow.
Okay, so that's kind of a conversation to have behind the scenes, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. All right. So if nobody's got anything else to want to add, I think this meeting has been really fun and interesting, and I've enjoyed it immensely. And I'll see you all guys in September. Okay. Bye.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.